What's up, everybody? Welcome to the KT Talk Show, formerly known as Connect with KT. Wanted to let you guys know the app and program that I use for my podcast. This is a completely free program where you can download and record and edit your podcast for free. There is an app that's free, and you go to anchor.fm to use it online on your laptop. There's a creation tool on here where you can edit. And also there is no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And remember, you can download the free app or go to anchor.fm. Another thing to remember is I am now on the Heart Grid Network, which is on captivate.fm. We are currently working on putting all our episodes on all platforms, including Spotify and Apple, so make sure to listen to us on there as well.
The other author by the name of Tyra, I had met her at Starbucks for coffee, and it was literally where I had my personal Mary and Elizabeth story, and metaphorically, my baby leaped. And during that time, my baby was my book, and it was confirmation that I needed to write my book.
Awesome. And do you, if you don't mind me asking, this is kind of personal stuff. Are you a Christian? Like, do you follow like that kind of, is that like your spirituality, or are you pretty open? What kind of spiritual path do you follow?
I'm a Christian, and I would definitely consider myself a believer. Currently, I don't have a church home right now. My husband and I were in the process of looking for one before COVID. So, we definitely believe in the Word of God and, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, because I think, for me and for many different people, I think we think of spirituality as different. But I know that, as a whole, we all believe in God, and we all, I'm sure you can agree with this, that we all are able to use that and manifest and, create things that we want, and know that we have, the Spirit there guiding us to get us through those moments. And especially like you said, with your book, it was like, oh, I met with this author, and it was like, boom, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got this. And you had that in your mind, and then you created it and you wrote your book, and now look where you are on a podcast talking about it.
Yep. So it's like write the vision and make it plain is like one of the scriptures that I like to use as my foundation, because sometimes it's so important to not just reflect on where we are right now in life, but also write down where you want to go. And when you write down things, you're more able to see them come to pass, because you have something to hold you accountable and something to look forward to.
No, right. Definitely. I feel like podcasting and writing a book are somewhat in the similar sense, except you're just saying what you're feeling instead of writing it down. So I think it's awesome that I can kind of, I can relate in some sense, because I feel like that's kind of what came to me. God's like, hey, or Spirit, whoever, like I said, everybody believes in something different. They kind of led me to that, like, you need to get what you have inside of you. You need to get that out, and you need to tell people about it, because this is what you're meant to do. This is why we put you here.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So what else? So I know we'll talk a little bit more, maybe about your career. So what are you doing exactly, like right now? I know you have the author and you do creative content writing. What are some other things that you do on like a daily basis?
So right now I'm actually taking some time off until maybe the end of this week or so. I haven't really decided. I'm on bereavement leave. My father passed away the day before Thanksgiving, so I
Gosh,
wanted
I'm
to
so sorry.
thank you. Definitely want to take some time to, grieve and mourn and sort through some things with my mother. Um, then during a typical day for me, I would normally get up and go to work. Since we're still in the global pandemic, I've been working from home remotely, which has been great, because during that time, I really got to spend a lot of time with my dad, and that really helped, because I never even expected my dad to pass so soon. And it was like one thing after another, but I'm so grateful and thankful that, I took that time to be there and help my dad during the time that, he needed me and my mom the most.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I think, I just want to say, with everything that's going on in COVID-19 and people, being at home, I know a lot of people, it's hard for them, but also, just because you kind of had that positive spin on it, you got to take that time that you were lucky to be able to work from home and still be able to spend that time with your dad, not even knowing, that was going to happen. But it's good that you have that mindset and you have like, I'm so happy that I was able to, still have that time with him.
Yeah, because a lot of people, complain like, oh, I can't see my family or I can't do
Hmm.
this and that. But just think about like, you're grateful to see another day. You may still be employed even though you're working from home because,
Right.
so many people have lost their jobs. So we just have to really, count our blessings and thank our lucky stars that, you know, we still have provision.
Right. Exactly. Um, there was something else that I also wanted to talk about because this is something that I kind of struggled with a little bit, and what caught my attention with you, is talking about, getting out of your comfort zone, um, and that's, I think it's just relevant to a little bit of how these people, everyone's working from home, to kind of go off that, what could you kind of say to people right now that are working from home, or maybe a lot of people that have lost their job, what could we say to encourage them, to get out of their comfort zone and go for something, their passion?
You definitely have to start by changing your mindset. And I feel like so many times people remain in their comfort zone. Are you hearing me okay, Katie?
Yep. Yep. I
Okay.
can hear you.
Sometimes I feel like so many people remain in their comfort zone because, they have fear gripping them. And when I think about fear, I just think about false evidence appearing real. And that is a form of a mindset that conditions us to limit, um, be limited to where we can go in our life. And whenever you are limited to do certain things, it causes you to remain stagnant and stuck in your comfort zone. And then for those people out there who have lost their jobs, I'll be in that boat with you soon because I was recently told that I would be laid off. Like, I think it came a week after my dad passed away, but
Oh
I'm
my.
gonna yeah, but I'm gonna work up until February. So when I got that news, like, it did suck because I was like, okay, I've been with this company for 7.5 years. But you know what? You just really have to shift your mindset and you just have to be thankful. Like, okay, I'm thankful for the years of experience that I had with that company. I'm thankful that it's going to be a resume builder. And I know when one door closes, something bigger and better always opens up. So you just have to, see that positivity. Like, even though it sucks right now, there is a reason for each season that we go through. So as we're going through life, you have to think about it as a journey. Like, each season is going to teach us a valuable lesson. But if we remain stuck in, okay, oh, why me, or the pity party, then we're never going to crawl out and see the greatness and achieve the greatness that we want for ourselves.
Right. No, I think that's great. That's great advice, and that's something, I think a lot of people. I like how you interpreted fear. I think because that's a lot of what it is. Is people are scared. They're scared to look into another direction of, like, in their career path. Like you were saying that you've been with that company for 7.5 years. And to even think like, okay, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? But just to know that you always have opportunity to, do something new and fun, and follow your passion. And this actually just made me think of something else. I just was thinking about doing a podcast episode about a label versus not label. And one of the reason that I thought about that was, just because of everything that's been going on with, the racism and just, just all this controversy that's going on in the world right now. And everybody always asks you, what do you do for a living? Who are you? Like, what do you do? And you just have this, I feel like it's a label, you know what I mean? Like they put this label on you, like, oh, I'm a real estate agent or I'm a business owner and things like that. But then I'm thinking, but why do I have to have that title? You know what I mean? Like I'm just Katie, and I make money in certain ways, and I do that. You know what I mean? I'm not, everybody has something different, but I think that just to kind of add to that, I think that, a lot of people search for that. And I don't know if you can agree, but for the longest time, that's what my thing was, is I was always trying to be something and not necessarily follow what Katie was or like what I wanted to do. It took me a long time to figure that out.
I could definitely agree and resonate with that. I just literally shared that on another podcast because so many times people always ask us, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? But they never take time to ask you, who do you want to be when you grow up? And
Exactly.
yeah. And so I feel like whenever people ask you the what, it's trying to limit you and keep you boxed in so you're not able to expand your wings and soar high like an eagle, but it's keeping you in confinement. And, it's really limiting you because I feel like, the what is, you know, conditional. The what is like what people are going to see you as and how they're going to perceive you. And it's not really, tapping into your purpose or your passion if you're so busy being consumed with what everyone else wants you to do or how they want you to look, act, think, and etc.
No, exactly. That's exactly it. And, I think that you could also kind of talk on this a little bit more, because you're a woman of color and, me being white, we always like, I can never, and we kind of even talked about this on the phone, like I never know what it's like because, I've never been in the position. I've never been a woman of color. So for you, can you kind of talk about, what some struggles maybe as far as that label and telling you what to do? So you can say, you know what I'm saying? So you can say to what you could say to other women of color that are trying to maybe get farther into the workforce or do something different. What could you say to them from your experiences?
I would definitely encourage those women out there is to support another woman of color as well as women in general because I feel like we as women sometimes when we work in male dominated fields we're also a minority amongst the males, but if we don't come together with each other we're also limiting one another, and we should be complementing one another and not be in competition with each other. Another thing I would encourage those women of color who may be listening is to never be afraid to share your voice and your story. Yes, sometimes in the workforce, people may not think that you have it all figured out, or, they may feel intimidated by you, but that's okay because that's their problem and not your problem. And we have to be able to combat microaggression, which are little comments that they make about, oh, well, you're aggressive, when in reality, you may just be very passionate about the subject that you're talking about. Or it could just be an area of compassion for you, and you want that to exuberate wherever you are. And I feel like so many times we as women of color, we get labeled as aggressive, or she's just an angry black woman. And I feel like that is a form of microaggression, and it's also a cop out because that's the easiest thing that you could say versus really getting to know who we are and what we bring to the table. And we can't be afraid to talk about these issues because by not talking about it, it's not helping the societal and systemic racism that's going on in the workforce. We have to bring our A game and lay out all the cards at the table and have a respectful but yet much needed conversation.
Right. And you've worked personally, you've worked in the workforce with predominantly white males, correct? And so that's a lot of the reason why you wrote this book.
Yes, correct. in oil and gas in
Yeah.
Texas is a very, very male dominated, and you see a lot of things, and you just really have to know how to stand your ground without compromising your personal integrity or morals.
Hmm. And what are and I know, is this something that still goes on for you today? Like, do you still struggle in certain areas, or struggle with certain things, or do you feel like you've had a pretty good standing with the company as far
I
as like?
definitely. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Katie.
No, that's all I was gonna say.
I I definitely feel like there is still some struggles that, are going on. Like one is pay disparity. Me as an African American woman, I recently just got compensated after 3 years of being in my current role. They bumped my salary up by 20%, and that only came because I spoke out during the vice president's meeting after the whole Black Lives Matter movement. But had I not spoken out about my personal, issues with racism, as
Hmm.
well as in the workplace, would that 20% pay increase have came? And that's a fair question. And I think, more people need to start asking questions like that. Why does it have to take, certain incidents to happen in order for you all to recognize that there is a problem? We already know there's a problem in certain areas, but I feel like people just sweep it under the rug because they want to avoid confrontation. But there is a way, to tackle the elephant in the room, but still do it, PC and respectfully.
Right. No, definitely. And in that brings me to another question. You said that you spoke up during, your vice president meeting. And me personally, that like scares the living crap out of me to think about something like that. Like, I couldn't do that. So I give you I give you a lot of credit for doing that. Cause I mean, that's awesome. And maybe you could talk about, how you could, I know you kind of already have, but how you could encourage other women of color too, to like, which ways could they approach that if they aren't able to get that type of situation. So let's say that they don't, they aren't able to sit down with their vice president, or they don't have those opportunities. What other opportunities would you suggest for them to get their voice out?
I would definitely encourage them to partner with allies. So people that don't necessarily look like you, but the they have the inlet to, senior management, and they have the air. They're able to get messages across to upper management, and they could articulate it in a way to where the message is going to be received more from them versus if it came from you. I definitely encourage people to network with other people, not just in your organization, but outside of your organization, because sometimes it's not always who knows who you know. Sometimes it's who knows you. And that could help because your name may be mentioned in rooms that you would never have even dreamed of walking into, but because someone knows you, they're going to put in a good word for you. So networking is key, and building sustainable relationships with people, and making sure when you build those relationships, they are mutually beneficial, because you don't want to just, be the only one giving into the relationship, but you also want to be able to receive something out of it as well. So it should be a two-way street when you network. I definitely want to encourage people is to be out there, promoting your brand, because, Katie, you are your personal brand, just like Genesis, me, I'm my personal brand. So how do you want people to see you, and how do you want people to perceive you? Because so many times people are already out there passing preconceived judgment and notions about us without, even knowing us. So if we are, carrying ourselves in a particular manner and light, that's going to cause other people to be drawn to us.
100%. Oh, that's great. And, I think a way to add to that too, with people trying to network, I know that there are a ton of groups, like supportive groups on like Facebook and things like that, where people are just looking to help anyone. I've seen so many small business, black owned businesses, things like that on Facebook, where they're just encouraging each other, and everybody can say what they want out there. I don't know if you have any other resources that people can do virtually, because that's kind of what we're forced to do right now.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage people to, if you're a business professional, LinkedIn is also a good resource
Yeah.
as well. You
Hmm.
meet a lot of business professionals on there. And what I like to do when I, go on there under my other brand, I send a message to someone and I like to personalize it because, people get a lot of messages, but if you take the time to personalize something, they're going to see the value in that. They're going to be like, okay, this lady really went out of her way, to show me that she's going to go the extra mile. So they're going to respond faster than if you just send a generic, oh, connect with me. Like, okay, who are you? And then they'll have to go through your profile, look through all that stuff. And, people are very busy these days. So just
Yeah.
make it easier on them.
Hmm. And is the human resources, where is that something that you utilize yourself, like within the company, or did you have to go outside of the company?
For human resources,
No, I mean, like when you were when you said that you stood up to the vice president and things like that, and that's kind of how you got your voice out, right? You felt like, okay, this is the turning point for me in this company. Did you have any? Were you, like, the resources that you did connect with in the network that you got? Was it connected with the human resources, like, in your company, or did you, like what you said with LinkedIn, or did you connect with people more so outside in LinkedIn and get help like that?
so it was connected within my company because how the meeting really came about was after the whole George Floyd incident, he picked a group of people that identified as African American and Black that were a part of my supply chain organization. And he really wanted to know what was going on in our minds, how we felt about the whole George Floyd incident and the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And that is where the meeting started. And I think there was less than thirty people, and it was over Zoom. And he asked each one of us to share our personal story, whether it was a racism that we face at home or outside of work, and then an incident that we faced at work if we had any. So everyone else had went before me, and I was just quiet because I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to share. But it just so happened that there was an HR representative on the call as well. So he personally called on me, and at that point I was like, hey, I'm 7 years in the company, I have nothing to lose. So I shared you know a personal story where I said, okay, I am a woman. I am a woman, but my family is, culturally diverse, meaning that I have two nieces and nephews that are half Caucasian, and I also have two nieces and nephews that are, you know, half Indian. And I shared how, I was racially profiled. Someone stopped me in a local grocery store when I was with my niece and nephew that are half Caucasian and asked me, whose kids are those? And are you responsible to be with those children? And that was, a form of racism that I incurred outside of work. And then the other form of racism was, that I was ranked incorrectly for over 4 years. They were paying me as an admin, even though I was doing the work of a professional. I was underpaid by 20% in my current role, and who knows how much more in my prior role. And I gave those, scenarios, and I kid you not, a week later, after speaking up and being courageous and unapologetically me, I got a 20% pay increase.
Wow. So really, like you were saying earlier in the podcast, it took the BLM, the movement, for him to personally reach out to you after the 7 years that you've been there, for this to be a change. So we can already see, and for people who are listening, how the struggle is real. And but you can, like I encourage everyone, and I know Genesis does as well, to always speak your mind, even when you don't think that anybody wants to hear it. I definitely think it's important to, and don't let, unfortunately, like you said, it took that occurrence, but fortunately for you, you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to speak my mind.
Yeah, because you have to ask yourself, okay, if I speak my mind, what is the worst thing that can happen? And then if I don't speak my mind, what is the worst thing that can happen? If you don't speak your mind, change may never come. If you do speak your mind, okay, maybe they'll retaliate, maybe change will come. Who knows? But do you want to have the thoughts of what if when you can have, okay, these are the solutions that I could, bring to the table?
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And you, and that's the only company that you have worked for professionally, right? Like this is something that, or what did you do before that? I'm just
So
curious.
before this company, I worked for another smaller oil and gas company, but it was a British company. So I
Oh, okay.
didn't really experience, systemic racism because they were already foreigners. And, I come from a foreign background. I'm first generation American. And
Mm-hmm.
so I felt like I didn't have to endure all the shenanigans. Prior
Right.
to that, I did the medical field for a little bit. I worked at the cancer center. And then before that, I worked for a real estate company.
Okay. So this is the first time that you said in this particular company that you've experienced the racism before. Besides outside of, I'm sure, outside of work it's happened to you before, but in this particular company you didn't see it really until then.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And is there, do you ever see anyone else like getting mistreated, like still within your workplace, or do you feel like that made a pretty big impact? Um, the BLM and all that. Do you feel like that made a pretty big impact on the African American employees in your company?
I think it made somewhat of an impact, but I do still feel like there is mistreatment that is going on in the company, and I think it has a lot to do with management. When you continue to promote managers that have poor morals and poor ethics, you're going to end up with the same result. If you really want to, create change, you have to start from the top down and really clean house. Like, stop promoting people who really don't believe in inclusion and diversity. Like, they're going to only do so much in order to get by. But if it's not in their core and they're not really trying to learn about inclusion and diversity and make a difference, then I really don't think those are the people that you need to have in your leadership if you're really trying to make a lasting change and impact.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And And another thing, I think that we need to be more open to having like tough conversations. Yes, it may not be something that we want to talk about, but there is a way that we could respectfully, have those conversations with other people who don't necessarily look like us. You can start by, having an icebreaker, or you could start by, asking them a simple question. Hey, you know, I heard you say this, and this a while back, but can you tell me why you said that and why and how you felt about this topic? And, let's really have a healthy discussion and really understand the other person, from where they're coming from, and ask them, hey, okay, can you share with me like some of your background or some of your insights so I can understand, your culture a little bit better, or, where you're coming from so I could understand it for myself and not be ignorant, or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure if you approach it that way, people are going to be willing to share, especially if they want to bridge that gap.
Right. No, and you also said, you know, when you were talking about the leadership in the company, and how when you just continue, you see like they're continuously promoting, these people that have terrible morals, and you're just trying to come in and be like, hey, this really could be a decent company if you just kind of switch things up a little bit. and be a little bit open to change. And I also wanted to comment, you should think about doing your own business or something and encouraging young women in the workplace. Like, I think, your book was a great start, but I think that you would be a perfect person to kind of start, some sort of like a business coach or something, something cool like that. Like, I feel like you would be really good at something like that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely have thoughts about that, and that may be another spiritual confirmation because
Right.
especially this coming February, whenever I will be out of a job, I will definitely be looking for new career opportunities and avenues to really, expand my brand and really, teach and inspire other people.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I mean, because that's exactly what a lot of people that I bring on here and like-minded people, we all just want, the best for everyone and every culture, whoever you are, no matter what color, size, shape, form, we want everybody to get along and have a positive, healthy life. Um, and I appreciate you coming on here, and like I said, everything that you've been saying is just kind of like, man, she would really be a good business coach. Like, she could start like a little YouTube channel, and I'm just thinking in my head as you're talking, like, you're very inspirational, and I like that. And I think it's really fun.
Thank you, Katie. And I really do appreciate it. And I'm just so glad you're able to get something, out of it, because if you're getting something out of it, I know the listeners will too. And I don't want to just be talking for the sake of me, but I definitely want to be planting seeds and wisdom nuggets for other people out there, because I tell people we're better when we come together and when we can help one another.
Exactly. And I think that is a lot of what, not even just in the workforce, but in the community as well, just because we've had to, I don't even like calling it social distancing. I like calling it isolation, because there's nothing social about social distancing at all. But I just, this is just a great time for everyone that has had something to say. Like, we have YouTube and we have these podcasts and we have, we can write these books, and, people can read those virtually now. You know what I mean? We don't have to have it in a paper form. But we have so many more ways of like coming together and communicating with each other, even though we can't physically be with each other. We now have more an opportunity to get the word out there. That's kind of why I mentioned to you about like a YouTube channel or something, or continuing with a podcast, because it's, more and more people are really getting in tune with this stuff. And they're really starting to listen. I'm starting to see, me personally, from the connections and the community, that people that I've been connecting with, I know every single one of them have that same, we need to be together. We all need to come together, because the more people we have, the more positive, like-minded people we have coming together, the more positive this community and healthier we're going to be overall in the future. So, but
I just pray like that someday, this world, you'll really see the beauty and the unison that it can be, but we
mhm.
definitely have to really set aside our differences and, really understand, okay, are these differences really what matter? And if not, how can we overcome the certain issues that we're facing, whether it's racial war, political turmoil, or whatever. And because there has to be some form of commonality in everything that we do. And if you think about us as human beings, like, the only thing that really separates you from me is, our outward appearance, whether you have blonde hair or, you have red hair and I have dark black hair, or, I'm like caramel color or chocolate and you're vanilla or whatnot. Don't we all have the same genetics, DNA makeup, and we all bleed red? So the only thing that physically separates us is our outward appearance.
Exactly. Right, exactly. And for some reason it still is, and I hate to even say it, but it's just going to keep continuing to happen. People are going to have their differences, people are going to have their feelings, their judgments. But I think the overall message, between the two of us in this episode is just speak your mind, and do it in a respectful and in a positive way so that that you're not going to be looked at as an aggressive woman, or, you know what I mean, somebody that doesn't know how to handle their own crap, or, you know what I mean? Just there's better words for that, but you know what I'm saying? I think that you and I both have that message, like, it's okay to get out of your comfort zone, and, just keep going and keep believing.
Yes, be fearless and limitless because the world needs you to show up and be your authentic self no matter where you are.
Exactly. So, Genesis, where can everybody find your book at? I know Amazon. Is there any other platforms?
It's on some other platforms. I don't know them off the top of my head right now.
You sent them to me, so I can just make sure and put those in the description of this, so people can, click on that if they want to as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but the main spot I send people to is Amazon. It's on Goodreads, and some small mom and pop stores have it on their website. But a lot of people, everyone knows Amazon, so I direct them there. And it's very inexpensive. So the paperback is only $13 and the Kindle version is $2.99. So I tell people the price that we pay for coffee or a fast food meal.
Right. Hey, that's true. Right. I'm thinking coffee. Like, there's my $3 coffee right there. No. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. So I was like, well, I really, really appreciate you coming on here. And is there anything else that you would like to say? Any kind of inspirational quotes you have, maybe to end it off with?
Yeah, sure. I will read a quote from the book.
Awesome. Yeah, and also anybody, real quick, anybody that's listening, like I said, I'll drop the links in the description so you can go and check that out. I mean, come on, it's $2.99 on Kindle. Everybody likes a good read. $2.99, I'm sure you'd enjoy it. And if you have any other links or anything like that, later on, or you got another book, Genesis, be sure to send it my way.
Yeah, most definitely. And then if people get the hard copy too, there's a few extra pages in there after the reflection quote section where they could jot down their thoughts too, because I think it's so important that we reflect on what we read too and how it speaks to us.
Oh, definitely. I do the same exact thing. I actually have a certain book specific for that, for my book quotes. It's like my book quote book.
It's so helpful.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Okay, I found a quote.
Okay.
So, stop waiting for someone to co-sign your dreams. Start running with passion. In time, the right people who genuinely care and want to support you will fall into place. And one more quote. If you have a dream and vision to achieve something, then you have the power to do it. Keep the determination and continue to run your race. You may fall or even fail, but that doesn't mean you can't achieve greatness. Get back up and press forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Genesis. You were an awesome human being, and I really appreciate you being on here. Probably said that 50 times, but that's okay. It's just what I do. And I hope that we can stay connected and maybe, connect and do another episode in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been such a pleasure, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And looking forward to more.
Yes. Well, I hope you have a great evening.
You as well.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.